All right, Math C students, here are a couple examples of using the half angle formulas to evaluate things like sine of pi over 8 or cosine of 9 pi over 8. Basically anything where it's pi over 8, because you're only really using it to evaluate angles that are half of something, which is a pi over 4. And half of pi over 4 is pi over 8. So for sine of pi over 8, I'm using the formula that sine of theta is equal to, remember how it goes, 1 minus cosine, plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of 2 theta all over 2. Okay, so my angle pi over 8 is definitely in quadrant 1. So I know that sine of an angle in quadrant 1 is positive. So it's going to be sine of pi over 8 equals positive square root of 1 minus cosine of 2 times pi over 8. 2 times pi over 8 is 2 pi over 8, which is pi over 4. So that's what's going to go in there. And we know how to find cosine of pi over 4 all over 2. That 2 is inside the square root right now. So then most of this is just simplifying. This is going to be the positive square root of 1 minus cosine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2 all over 2. And then inside the square root, we multiply by 2 over 2. So on top, the 2 distributes, and 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times root 2 over 2, the 2's cancel and you get root 2. On the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4. Right, so this multiplies here, and this multiplies here. And then the last simplification we do is, well, I'll do it in 2 steps, but you can probably do it in 1. You can say it's the square root of 2 minus root 2 over the square root of 4. But then the square root of 4 simplifies to just the square root of 2. So it's the square root of 2 minus root 2 all over 2. And these half angle examples almost always look like a square root of, I should say, plus or minus a square root of 2 plus or minus root 2 all over 2. So it's always kind of this, except it might be a negative out in front and it might be a positive inside. But those are kind of the only differences. It's very similar to the angle sum and angle difference formulas, how all the answers are plus or minus root 6 plus or minus root 2 all over 4. Except here it's plus or minus root of 2 plus or minus root 2 all over 2. We will see the same sort of thing happen for cosine of 9 pi over 8, which is, I could do it in degrees if you wanted. 9 pi over 8 in degrees would be, 9 pi over 8 would be how many degrees? I don't know, 202.5 degrees, I think. I don't want to do it in degrees though. Yeah, so I'm going to do this now for cosine, I should say for cosine of theta, the half angle formula is plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of 2 theta all over 2. So be careful, right? If it's cosine, it's a plus here. If it's sine, it's a minus here. But otherwise the formula is the same. So my angle 9 pi over 8 is in quadrant 3. It's a little bit bigger than pi. So I know it's going to be negative, because if my angle is in quadrant 3, cosine is negative. So cosine of 9 pi over 8 is negative the square root of 1 plus cosine of 2 times 9 pi over 8. Oh, that's an 8 all over 2. 2 times 9 pi over 8 is 9 pi over 4. So it's the square root of 1 plus cosine of 9 pi over 4 over 2. Cosine of 9 pi over 4 is pi over 4 more than a full revolution, right? We've got 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, which is pi, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4, 8 pi over 4, which is 2 pi, and then 1 more pi over 4 gets us to 9 pi over 4. So cosine of 9 pi over 4 is the same as just cosine of pi over 4, because they're coterminal. And the cosine of pi over 4, which is in quadrant 1, is positive root 2 over 2. This is going to look like negative, so I forgot the negative here. square root of 1 plus positive root 2 over 2 all over 2. And then again, these simplify the same every time. We multiply the insides by 2 over 2. We distribute the 2 on top. So it's negative square root of 2 times 1 is 2 plus 2 times root 2 over 2 is root 2 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. But then the denominator is being 4 inside the square root, comes out of the square root as just 2. So I don't think you need to write this as 2 steps. I think you just say, oh, well, the top is the square root of 2 plus root 2. The bottom is the square root of 4, which I'm not going to write. I'm just going to say, oh, I know the square root of 4 is 2. And then my answer is negative. So there's a couple examples of how you use the half angle formula to evaluate angles that are either in radians, something pi over 8, or in degrees, you will always have a half a degree. Right? Half of 45 degrees is 22.5 degrees. Half of 135 degrees is 67.5 degrees. So whenever you see a half a degree showing up, you know you have to use the half angle formula. If you see something pi over 8, you know you have to use